Hey, YouTube fans of Camp Kaiju, thank you for joining us. We're back. And for those of you who are new to Camp Kaiju, welcome. All strange beasts are welcome. My name is Vincent Hannum, and I am co host and producer of this podcast. So you can listen to this entire episode free of charge wherever you listen to your podcasts. If the video format really appeals to you, you can find the rest of this video review on our Patreon for just $5 a month. Not only do you get the entire unedited raw review, you get a lot of other great movie content, monster movie content, especially. So go ahead and check that out, or any of the links in our description there. And we look forward to engaging with you on the podcasts or here on YouTube. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. And until next time, stay campy.
This movie is so entertaining. Like it's 2 hours long. It's a couple of minutes short of 2 hours long, and like the plot is all over the place. There are three different villains that appear at like different times of the movie. Yeah, it's really overstuffed. It's jam packed, but it is so fun. Like I really do think that it kind of like recreates that feeling. You mentioned this before, Vincent, of like being a kid and like settling down in front of the TV on Saturday morning, and like you have your like for me it was Johnny Quest and GI Joe. Those are the shows that I loved when I was a kid. Now looking back on them, I realize how much like ideological, questionable stuff is in those. But while watching Shin Ultraman, I just couldn't help but think like if those franchises were rebooted, GI Joe or Johnny Quest. Of course, there have been some GI Joe movies, but like and they're not very good. But if they had been done in this way with like creativity and ambition and insight, like I just can't imagine that happening for like a Hollywood sort of like reboot of a franchise. And it's too bad because Shin Ultraman is like the textbook, and Shin Godzilla, they're the textbook of like how to do a reboot of a franchise in like a really great creative artistic way.
I agree. I think all of that. I will add the score for this movie is so much fun, and it just it exudes a lot of youth. It's like
Mhm.
a really youthful score and very 60s, which is in line with the original series. And it's very science fictiony and groovy. Yeah, and then there's also like a lot of electric guitar riffs throughout the movie to enhance the action. And it's just so awesome to see Kaiju fight to this like Japanese electric guitar. It was awesome. I love those moments.
I totally agree. I'm glad you brought up the musical score. It's so much fun. It's of course like so different than like the classic Akira Ifukube scores that we hear in like Godzilla and like Year of the
Exactly.
Monster and stuff,
Yeah.
but like, equally perfect for the movie, I think.
Right. And that's the different tone from Shin Godzilla that it didn't and Shin Ultraman didn't try to be moody. It didn't try to be something aesthetically that it's not. And more power to it for that. Sticking to its guns.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And as Higuchi said, Shinji Higuchi, that's kind of what they set out to do. Like they didn't want to make like a kids movie with Shin Ultraman. They wanted to make a movie that could like recreate those feelings of nostalgia and excitement for like people that grew up with this, but now are, older, obviously. So I
Yep.
feel like they did that perfectly well.
Yep. I agree.
What about the bad category?
So we talked about how much we loved Zareb specifically as an antagonist. And I loved that character so much. I loved where the movie was going with that. And then they did away with that character. And it's sort of this. So Shin Ultraman is sort of broken into three parts. And in each part, you get a different main antagonist. That was too disruptive for me. I wanted to see one story for 2 hours, and instead I got a nary a through line through the three episodes. It's kind of there. They lead into each other a little bit, but ultimately it wasn't the kind of story structure that I naturally click with. Doesn't mean it was bad, just not for me.
I no, I totally agree actually. It's very episodic, and